Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabika Jura, but first, other headlines. MPs live in fear of being poisoned at Parliament. CSOs appeal for government's adoption of their key concerns pending the final year 2022-2023 budget. UPDF DRC forces move to stop ADF recruitment training in next phase of operation. In sports today, Uganda wins first FIM CAC round. Focus now for MXOAN in August. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The fear of being poisoned among its politicians and technical staff at Parliament may appear like a myth, but to some, it's a reality and cannot just be washed away. Now, the two MPs have confessed to the media that they survived poison at the House and were only saved by God. We have that report.
The MPs say that it's unfortunate that there are people with a belief that political differences can only be solved by elimination through giving poison. The issue of poison in the political sphere was reignited following claims by Nathan Okori that his son, the late Speaker Jacob Oulanyah, was poisoned. His claim was also supported by the Vice Chairman for NRM in Buganda, Godfrey Chiwanda Subi, yet it is not the first time politicians are claiming to have been targets of poison. Chira Municipality Legislator Ibrahim Semjunganda told journalists that in 2004, Ben Wacha, the then MP for Oliam South, claimed that an attempt had been made to poison him, Jack Sabiti and Jena Mugisha Muntu at the parliamentary canteen. Semju said Wacha claimed a flask containing poison tea had already been served to Jena Muntu and Jack Sabiti, but they only survived after being alerted by a waitress. On May 4, 2018, during a plenary sitting, the former State Minister for Primary Health Care, Dr. Joyce Moruku Kaduchu, advised legislators to take precaution, saying her 6-month-long illness in Nairobi was as a result of poison. According to some legislators, the poison scare has led some politicians to evade taking Holy Communion in church, in addition to using separate microphones at public functions.
Away from that, civil society organizations bloc has compelled Uganda's government to absorb their proposals as observed and analyzed from the recently released ministerial policy statement in the final year reading the financial year 2022-2023 budget. We have the report.
While addressing a press conference at Food Rights Alliance Secretariat in Mengo, the CSO's Consortium of Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group CSBAG, Action Against Hunger USA Uganda, Forum for Women in Democracy Forward, Uganda Women's Network UONET, Southern and Eastern Africa Trade Information and Negotiations Institute CIATIN Uganda, and others posed a need for consideration of their views if this year's budget is to achieve its intended goals as per the theme of the key priorities for economic recovery and safeguarding livelihoods. Although the CSO's consortium commends government for taking some measures on the escalating prices of essential commodities, as reflected from the statement by the Minister of Finance on 22 March 2022, meeting timelines in this year's budget processes as per the Public Finance Management Act 2015, as amended and adopting some proposals by CSOs through engagement with parliamentary committees, they still raise concerns in the MPs before the final budget ruling.
We are aware that the Minister of Finance issued a statement as of 22nd of March, giving the government position on what government is planning to do in regards to the increasing prices in this country. We do appreciate, yes, there are some efforts, though as civil society would expect government really to do way much more than what they are proposing.
Patrick Rubanga-Kene, the budget analyst at Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group CSBAG, notes that according to the financial year 2021-2022 half-year macroeconomic and fiscal performance report, the economy is expected to grow at 3.8% in the financial year 2021-2022 and is projected to grow at about 6% in the financial year 2022-2023. He says according to the report, this growth is expected to be generated by private sector activity due to increased aggregate demand post-COVID-19, increased returns from public infrastructure investments, and increased activities in the oil and gas sector. Patrick says for this year's financial year 2022-2023 to be effective, rising prices of essential commodities must quickly get a solution arguing that since the reopening of the economy in January 2022, the country has since experienced an increment in commodity prices of up to 100% for some commodities. For example, laundry bar soap prices increased by 47.8%, cooking oil 77.6%, and fuel by 34% in the last 1 year. For Agnes Chirabo, the executive director of Food Rights Alliance, noted with concern that agriculture, being the leading sector catering many Ugandans, as well being seen as a vehicle of economic growth, needs critical attention if it will effectively support the financial year 2022-2023.
So we are urbanizing, and as we urbanize, we need to look at the food that people are eating in these urban centers. The quality of it, but also the healthy of it, and the richness in terms of nutrients.
She decried limited investment towards water for agricultural production. The government increased the area under formal irrigation in the financial year 2020-2021 to 22,504 hectares, which was higher than the set target of 19,776. She also pointed out government's weak adherence to food fortification regulations, though in 2011 itself made food fortification mandatory for wheat flour, maize flour, and edible vegetable oil as per the Food and Drugs Food Fortification Amendment regulations.
Moving on, the UPDF and FARDC will now shift focus on stopping the recruitment and training by the ADF in the Eastern Congo in the next phase of Operation Shuja, according to the army leadership. Take a look at the story.
Last week, the UPDF Chief of Defense Forces General Wilson Mbadi met with his Congolese counterpart, Chief of General Staff General Musense Celestine, in a bid to review the ongoing operation as part of the agreement that saw the Ugandan army enter Democratic Republic of Congo. In attendance was the governor of Ituri province, General Kashama Johnny, the Ugandan ambassador of Democratic Republic of Congo, Ingenia Kalisa, Ugandan commander of Operation Shuja, Major General Kayanja Muhanga, UPDF generals and senior officers of UPDF and FADC. The evaluation meeting noted several achievements since the start of the operation in November, with the need to resolve the insecurity prevailing in the province of Ituri. The meeting stressed that the next phase of the operation will focus on neutralizing the army's freedom of action and movement, hindering its recruitment and training drive, disconnecting the enemy's communication and coordination network with other negative forces in the region, cutting off the enemy's supply routes, securing more reliable areas, thereby protecting civilians and enabling people to return to their homes. The next phase will also include ensuring the safety of roadworks on Kasindi, Beni Butembo, and Bunagana Rutushuru Goma roads, among others.
Well, thank you so much, reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news today, Britain and Rwanda have continued to attempt to justify their highly controversial migration agreement against a tidal wave of criticism.
On Thursday, the two countries announced a deal to send some people arriving in the UK as stowaways on trucks or in small boats to the East African country to have their asylum claims processed. British Home Secretary Priti Patel and Vincent Biruta, the Rwandan Minister of Foreign Affairs, have written a joint article for the British newspaper The Times arguing their case. In it, they said this groundbreaking partnership will set a new international standard and provide legal, safe, orderly and controlled ways for people to better their lives, flee oppression, persecution or conflict, and enjoy new opportunities. Speaking from London on Saturday, UNHCR Senior Legal Officer Larry Botnick said he felt there were more human ways to deal with the issue. He said he had seen a similar scheme being undertaken when he worked in Israel, which had not worked. During his Easter Sunday sermon, Archbishop Canterbury Justin Welby also criticized the deal, saying there are serious ethical questions about sending asylum seekers overseas.
Away from that, Cape Verde is feeling the real of the high cost of living excreted by the current war in Ukraine. Now, many people are now hoping that the government will step in to stem the ever-increasing prices of food, petrol, and other services in the country.
Prices in Cabo Verde increased by 0.7% in February and accumulate a rise in 7.1% compared to the same month of 2021, indicating the latest data from Cabo Verdean IN. From corn to olive oil, rice as well as fuel, bread, sugar, flour and meat are some of the products whose prices Cape Verdeans considered exaggerated and called for intervention from the government and regulatory authorities. Some businessmen are now calling on the state to control the prices of commodities entering the country to curb traders taking advantage of the situation. Lenin Mendes, a Cape Verdean businessman, said that the rise in prices is worrying at all levels, especially for food products, adding that often producers and traders take advantage of crises to raise prices basing on the international situation in the Ukraine war. Fuel prices rose by 5% in April, the maximum limit stipulated by the government, but have accumulated an average rise of 42.6% in the last year, as well as a rise in 7% since last January. Cape Verde's Prime Minister Ulises Correia Silva has previously ruled out the possibility of an increase in the national minimum wage due to the economic crisis.
Moving on, African migrants gathered outside the UN office in the Tunisian capital, Tunis, on April 18, 2022, on the third day of a sit-in to demand they evacuated to another country.
The refugees, mostly survivors of illegal immigration attempts by sea to Europe, have been staging a sit-in front of the office of the United Nations High Commissioner of Refugees in the Tunisian capital, Tunis, since Saturday. Equipped with blankets, the refugees, many of whom are women and children, spent the night on cardboard boxes on the ground amid suitcases containing their personal belongings. They denounced the United Nations inaction. Migrants and refugees in Tunisia, particularly from sub-Saharan Africa, regularly complain of being subjected to verbal and physical abuse in Tunisia. The majority of these migrants were rescued off the coast of Tunisia after their boats capsized while they were trying to reach the European continent clandestinely. According to statistics from the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights, the Tunisian Coast Guard intercepted 25,657 migrants attempting to cross the Mediterranean in 2021, almost double the number from the previous year.
More in international news, President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared a state of national disaster in South Africa. Now, this comes a week after terrible floods left at least 443 people dead in the Durban area of the East Coast. The head of state, Cyril Ramaphosa, said in a televised address on Monday, April 18th, referring to the situation as a humanitarian disaster, that the cabinet met in special session last night and decided to declare a state of national disaster. Some 10,000 troops have been deployed to the affected areas to assist the overwhelmed relief effort. The week-long downpour has led to deadly floods and landslides in KwaZulu-Natal, where most of the casualties have so far been recorded. According to the National Meteorological Institute, the rainfall has eased since the weekend and no further flooding is expected in the coming days. Thousands of people have been displaced. Some areas have been without water and electricity since Monday. Water tankers are trying to bring in drinking water, but roads and bridges are still cut off. Homeless people are clearing the roads in exchange for a few coins from the few motorists. Nearly 80% of the drinking water network is out of order, according to local authorities who warned that it would take time to restore it. Well, thank you so much, reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news, gemstone collectors of the UAE now have the chance to own one of the biggest rugby in the world with the launch of the exclusive Callisto collection by SJ gold, and diamond. Now, the magnificent gemstone, which weighs 2.8 kilograms, was presented to the public for the first time Friday in Dubai.
Though details remain scanty about when the gemstone was obtained, the variegated purplish red rough ruby was reportedly mined from the village of Windsor in central Tanzania. The DMCC licensed SJ Gold and Diamond started in 2017 with a dream of trading in rough diamonds and gold, is an established gems and mineral asset management firm in Dubai with its global headquarters in Geneva. The company specializes in providing strategic investment opportunities for rare precious stones, certified cut, uncut, rough diamonds, and gemstones in the ultra-high net worth segment. Patrick Belati said that they are going to auction it, but before the auction for the next 30 days, they will actually be traveling Dubai in different locations where everybody can see it. Weighing in at a whopping 8,400 carats and 2.8 kilograms in weight, the crown jewel will be unveiled by the guest of honor and renowned Hollywood actor Tamer Hassan. According to mineral experts, the greenish and purplish stone could be auctioned for $120 million. In Africa, Kenya, Mozambique, and Tanzania are one of the main ruby-producing countries. If the gemstone is not affordable for all to buy, visitors can at least capture the stone with their smartphones.
In a health news today, the Equatorial Guinea flagged oil tanker Zelo, which sank on Saturday in the Gulf of Guebs alongside Tunisia, has been checked with divers finding no leaks from fuel-laden ship. Now, the Tunisia branch of the Wildlife Fund had also expressed concern about another environmental catastrophe in the region and important fishing zone. We have the report. Tunisian Minister of Transport Rabi El Majidi said on Sunday that rescue workers had checked during the operation that the valves were closed and the team of divers ensured they were sealed and intact. The crew of the Zelo had issued a distress call on Friday evening and sought shelter in Tunisian waters from bad weather before going down. Tunisian authorities rescued the 7-member crew who received first aid and were moved to a hotel. An Italian ship specialized in cleaning up marine pollution will be sent alongside a team of divers to aid with efforts, an Italian official said. Tunisian officials are also investigating itinerary of the tanker, which reportedly has Turkish and Libyan owners. The Zelo was traveling from Egypt to Malta when it went down. In a sports news today, defending regional champions Uganda once again put a stamp on their intentions of winning FIM, now Africa Central African Motocross Challenge title after a 2-year COVID-19 hiatus. Now Uganda played host to the first round of the regional championship at Garuga over the Easter weekend. We'll have the details. The host Uganda collected 1,245 points, Kenya managed only 566 points, and Tanzania only rode as White Bibs scored individual points, not for team. Jamaira Makumbi won the 50cc, beating Kenya's Dylan Hatanga by 13 points as the class's defending national champion Philbert Mwange managed to finish third in his debut with 47 points. Tanzania, the other East African country, missed out on final nations classification as they are not yet affiliated to FIM. Uganda had also won the 2019 championship before COVID-19 pandemic. Uganda now plans to build on the cushion 679 points at second and final round to be hosted by Kenya in December to bag yet another silverware. Leaving to their billing and didn't disappoint the big crowds that turned up for the event were the Katende brothers, Miguel and Jonathan, who dominated 65cc class with a 1-2 position finish. Uganda now puts her focus on preparing a formidable team that will represent the country in the Continental Championship FIM motocross of all African nations set to be held in August at the same venue, Garuga, off Kampala-Entebbe Highway. Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.